Hey guys, welcome to another Data36 live webinar. Today I'm going to talk about the junior data scientist job interview. I will show you concrete questions and solutions, and I will, oops, I hear some echo. Okay, at least I can see that the stream is working. Okay, so this is the Solving a Junior Data Scientist job interview. I'm Tommy Mester, the author of data36.com, and we will start in 2 minutes. And in the meantime, please let me know if you can hear me and see me well. If you go to data36.com/questions, that will be the place where you can ask questions and where you can upvote each other's questions. But this is also the place where you can give me feedback about the quality of the stream. So please go to, if you can hear me and see me, go to data36.com/questions and answer this question: is everything okay with the audio and the video? And if it's okay, then please type here yes and something. If you cannot hear me or if you cannot see me, please type here no, the audio is bad, or no, the video is bad, or something. Anyway, we will start in 2 minutes, so we will wait a few people to join. At least I can see myself on my phone, so I think that the stream should be okay. Okay, I already got an answer. Yes, everything is okay. That's cool, but yes, please, everyone in the stream who can hear me, who can see me, please go to data36.com/questions and answer this simple question. Can you hear me? Can you see me? I hope yes. And we will start in 2 minutes. And for those who have just joined, welcome. I'm Tommy Mester, the author of data36.com, and today I'm going to show you the junior data scientist job interview. I will show you some concrete questions, the answers, so it's all going to be very, very exciting. And we will start I think we will start in 1 minute. I will wait a few more people to join. As you know, or maybe you not know, but more than 150 people registered to this event, and based on my benchmarks, the show up rate is around 20%. The rest of the people are counting on the recordings, which is totally okay, but I'm really happy that you joined to the live session, and you will see some advantages of it. For instance, you can ask questions, and for that there is this website called data36.com/questions. So if you have questions, you can ask questions. Currently, I'm running a poll there, and I have 4 answers that everything's okay with this stream. So I will just tap this poll. But in the meantime, if anything's wrong with the stream, anything's wrong with the quality, you cannot hear me, you cannot see me, please go to data36.com/questions. I will see your questions on my screen, so if anything's wrong, please let me know. And almost 20 people joined right now. And I think I will just go ahead and start right now. And welcome everybody. So for those who have just joined, I'm Tommy Mester, the author of data36.com, and this is the Solving a Junior Data Scientist Job Interview live webinar. Okay, so before we go into the questions and the answers, so before we go into the job interview questions directly, I would like to give you a few practical tips and tricks. And I collected these tips and tricks during my years. Obviously, I worked as a data scientist, and obviously I was hired and I was hiring other junior and even senior data scientists. And also I'm running an online course where I work with aspiring data scientists, and I see them in the interview processes as well. So I hear about their interview processes. So this webinar is built on my personal experience as an as someone who has been hired and who has been hiring people, and based on my students' experience who were interviewed into junior data scientist positions. So my first practical tip is don't build a CV, but build a portfolio. And of course, before the whole interview process starts, you have to send in a CV. And I thought about this in another course of mine. My advice is that don't build a CV, build a portfolio. And what does it mean? So when I was hiring people, I always looked at 4 things in the CV. The first one was the Python knowledge, the second one was the SQL knowledge, the third one is the statistics knowledge, and the fourth thing was that I wanted to see that the applicant is a fast and efficient learner. And of course, it's not enough if you list these 4 things on your CV, you also have to prove it. So that's why I always say that if you have a project, or if you had a project on the university, or if you didn't go to university, you had a hobby project or a project from a research project that you participated, or you participated in a Kaggle competition, the most important thing that you add a few lines about these projects to your CV, and even more importantly, you add the code base of this project to your CV. I always say that if I see your code, I can tell how good programmer you are. So if you attach a GitHub link, for instance, to your CV, to this project, then I for instance, as an interviewer, I always take a look at these codes and I can evaluate instantly how good the applicant is from the perspective of coding, Python, SQL. Also, you can get a sense of the business knowledge or the business sense of the applicant. So don't build a CV, build a portfolio, list these projects and focus on them rather than listing your year-to-year progress. But I have thought about this more in another webinar, in the How to Become a Data Scientist webinar. So yes. About the interview rounds, you can expect, if you apply for an internship position, of course, there will be 1 or 2 personality rounds. But if you are applying for a junior data scientist position or something above, you can expect multiple interview rounds. I will talk in details about these interview rounds in this webinar, but just in general, you can expect a general HR interview at the beginning, on the phone, on Skype, or on site. The second, third, fourth rounds will be most probably technical screening, Python SQL skills, statistics screening, most probably probability theory tasks. I will get back to this, of course. Business screening, they will ask questions to evaluate your business skills, and once you are done with that, maybe you will get a take-home assignment, which in my opinion is one of the best thing to evaluate an applicant. So, and it's really good for you as an applicant, but I will get back to this as well. Then maybe you will meet with some of your colleagues, some of your managers, so it can be easily 6, 7, or 8 rounds at a data science job interview. There are 3 or 4 important rounds. The rest is more like I will get back to this as well. If you do not get hired, this is my third tip. If you do not get hired, don't panic, don't get depressed, because most of the people, especially if you are applying for a junior position, don't get hired for first. And it's important to know, maybe this will be your first ever job interview if you are applying for a junior position. So it's okay if this whole thing is out of your comfort zone. Maybe you won't perform on your first job interview as well as you could. And I have 2 things that I would suggest as keep as a mindset. The first thing, if you do not get hired for the first try, don't look at it as a failure, look at it as a mismatch. So most probably if you didn't felt good didn't feel good on the interview, if you didn't feel the personality fit, if you felt that the tasks that you are asked to solve are too difficult, too hard, then maybe it's not the best position for you anyway. So it's not a failure, it's a mismatch, and maybe you will find a much better fitting position for yourself in the next interview. So don't worry about that. The second mindset that I suggest is to take a look at it as an opportunity to learn and grow. So it's really important that even if you do not get hired, ask feedback, try to get feedback. And if you feel that the SQL part of the interview, the SQL screening was really hard, you didn't perform really well, then go home, practice SQL for 1 more week, and nailed it on the next interview. So look at if something doesn't fit, look at it as an opportunity to learn and grow. My fourth tip is that do not expect too much theoretical questions. So this is not a university exam. Expect more like practical questions. Maybe you won't have to explain the difference between false positive and false negative. Maybe they won't ask you to describe what linear regression is, but they will ask you probably to talk about how to apply these things, right? So something like, we have this and this data set, we want to get this and this business result, what model or models would you use, what would you try, and why? More practical questions, less theoretical questions. If you get theoretical questions, that's, by the way, a red flag that the people who wants to hire you, they don't really know what they want from you, and they just went to Google and Googled some how to hire and how to interview a junior data scientist or something. So expect practical questions. It's good to know if you pass the first few rounds, then you are already in a really good position because they want to hire you. It's good to know that data scientist is a high demand job. It's really hard to find good talents, even to junior positions. It's really high. It's not an everyday thing that people can find a good junior or even a good senior to a position at the company. So if they see that you are a great talent and you are smart and dedicated, they will want to hire you. They interview you and you interview them, which means that if you do not feel the personality fit, dare to say no. This will be a big part of your life, so most probably you will work full-time, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, or even more for years. If you do not feel the fit, then say no, and this mindset should be with you in the interview process as well. So if they ask questions, then again, you should ask questions as well. That's my point. On the interview, you should ask questions too, because, well, first it shows that you are a curious person, which is always good for a data scientist, but B, it's also good to evaluate for you the company. So ask questions during the interview and evaluate the company as well. If they don't know what they want, and these things can happen, unfortunately, and it happened to me as well, I will give you a story first. So once upon a time, a few years ago, I was in an interview process where they wanted to hire a position that they called growth hacker / data engineer. So I was really curious that what this position could be, because if you know anything about data science, then you know that a growth hacker and the data engineer is the exact opposite of each other. Data engineer is really technical, growth hacker is really business minded, and it's more like a marketing thingy. The point is that I went to this interview and it turned out that they don't know anything about data science, they don't know what they want, they just put this job description to LinkedIn and they started to hire and they wanted to learn about the data science thing during the interview process. So it was a really, really bad interview. Anyway, these were my 7 tips And before we go into the questions, because now comes the part where I show you the questions and the answers from the job interview, I wanted to emphasize that you can ask questions at data36.com/questions. You can see the link down there at the bottom of the slide, data36.com/questions. And I can already see that there is one question. Is the session being recorded by any chance? Yes, you will get the slides, you will get the recording for the webinar, so don't worry if you missed any part of the webinar. But and data36.com/questions, you can ask questions there. But right now it's the time to get into the questions. As I said, there will be 3 screening parts, and I will show questions from these 3 screening parts. The first one is the statistics screening, the second one is the coding, and the third one is the business thinking. As you might already know, data science is usually described as the combination of these 3 things: statistics, coding, and business. Maybe the order of the interviews and the screenings won't be this exact order, but usually all these interview rounds are coming up on a data science job interview. By the way, I'm really often asked if what's the difference between data science and data analytics and between the job interview, and the answer is really easy. In the job interview there is usually no big difference, so it's a really similar job interview for data scientists and data analysts. The job itself, data science, is more scientific, as the name suggests, so you will most probably more on predictive analytics and machine learning things and related to these things, while data analysts, by the way, as valuable as data scientists as well, so the business value for the both positions is around the same. Data analyst is more like working on the present, more descriptive data analytics things, reporting, setting up KPIs, setting up A/B tests, these kind of things. But the interview process will be most probably really close to each other. So let's start with the statistics screening. What most probably you will get is probability theory questions, simple probability theory questions, and I will show you 3 that I collected from the internet, but and I will tell you where you can find similar questions, but I also used some of these in my job interviews, and actually one of these were also asked from me on a job interview. So these are real questions from real job interviews. The first one will be relatively easy, the last one will be relatively difficult. It was asked on a senior data scientist job interview, but let's start with the first one. Okay, so this is the question. You have a triangle with 3 ends on different corners of the triangle. The 3 ends start walking on the sides of the triangle with the same speed. Each of them choose the direction randomly. What is the probability that either 2 of the ends or all of the ends will meet? Okay, I give you, let's say, 1 minute. Maybe it won't be enough to solve the question. Maybe if you are really good and you can solve it like this, maybe you can solve it instantly. But I will give you 1 minute to think about it, and it starts now. Okay, the 1 minute is over. Again, if you couldn't solve this in 1 minute, don't worry about it. But if you could, that's really good. In a real job interview situation, you would have 5 to 10 minutes to solve this question. But I will show you the solution right now. And by the way, if you ask questions on data36.com/questions, I will answer it at the end of the webinar. Okay, so I will show you the solution. You had 3 ends on the corners of a triangle, and the trick is, or actually there is no trick, you just had to realize that every end can go into 2 directions, either left or right, and because they choose randomly, there is a 50-50% chance for both directions. And in every probability theory questions, I try to simplify the question to finding all scenarios and finding the good or bad scenarios for us. So in this case, the all possible scenarios was really easy to calculate. It was 2 times 2 times 2, so 8 possible scenarios, right? Because every end can go left or right, so it's 2 for every end. And the scenarios where they don't meet is there are actually only 2 scenarios where every end goes to the left or where every end goes to the right. And in every other case, at least 1 or 2 of the ends will meet with each other. So these are the scenarios when they do not meet, and the chance that they meet is the opposite of this number, so it's the remaining 6 scenarios divided by the all 8 scenarios, so this means 75%. And by the way, from this point on, when you found this out for a triangle, you can scale it up for a square, you can scale it up for a pentagon, hexagon, and so on really easily, because in every case the scenarios they don't meet will be 2, and the all possible scenarios will be so it will be 2 multiplied by 2, that many times as many corners the given geometrical thingy has. Okay. Next question. If you solve this one easily, then this one will be a little bit more challenging. I found this question, by the way, at Glassdoor. So if you want to go and find questions for yourself, I really recommend to go to Glassdoor, because there they list out the different questions from real data science job interview questions. And this one was a job interview question at Facebook, by the way. So the question is, there is a room with a lamp in it. The lamp can be either on or off. 3 of your friends came out of the room. You ask each independently if the lamp is on or off. Each of your friends has a 2/3 chance of telling you the truth and 1/3 chance of messing with you by lying. All 3 friends tell you that the lamp is on. What is the probability that the lamp is actually on in the room? Again, you have 1 minute to figure out the solution. Won't be that hard, but won't be easy either. Go. 1 minute. Okay, the 1 minute is gone for Shahid from the questions part. No, not 3 to the power of 2 is 8, but 2 to the power of 3. But okay, let's get back to this question. So the question is, what is the probability that lamp is actually on in the room? Again, in every similar tasks, I recommend to try to list out all the possible scenarios and calculate the probability for them. So in this case, I want to find out that what's the probability of the different proportion of telling the truth. So in the case that all of them are lying, the probability is this: 1/3 multiplied by 1/3 multiplied by 1/3, so it's 1/27th. The chance that all of them are telling the truth is 8/27ths, and the remaining situations, or the remaining scenarios, that 2 of them are lying, 1 tells the truth, or 1 is lying and 2 tell the truth, is the remaining scenarios, so it will be 18/27th. This is a simple probability calculation, and I like to put it in a different way to solve this exact case. So from 27 situation, there is 1 where all of them are lying, there is 18 when 2 of them are lying and 1 is telling the truth, and 1 is lying and 2 of them are telling the truth, and there is 8 where all of them are telling the truth. And if you think about it, when they are all the 3 are saying yes, so yes, 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 it's possible only in 2 ways. Either all of them are lying, or all of them are telling the truth, right? If you do not understand this right now, try to sketch it on a paper and try to write up a scenario where all of them are saying yes and 2 of them are lying and 1 is telling the truth, and you will see that it's not possible. So these 18 scenarios are coming out of the picture. So the solution will be that 8 divided by 8 plus 1 is 8 divided by 8 plus 1 is the chance that all of them are telling the truth, and only 1/9 would be the chance that all of them are lying by saying yes, 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 so all of them are saying yes. That's the solution for the second question. Here comes the third question. I really like this question. I actually got this on a senior data science job interview. The question is, you toss a fair coin. This means that a fair coin means that 50-50% for head or tail. How could you use it to choose with equal probability 1 out of the 3 options? Oops, I mistyped here, but how could you use it to choose with equal probability 1 out of 3 options? In other words, how could you turn a coin, which is by default a 50-50 random generator, into a 33% random generator? Okay? So you have 1 minute again, which starts now. And I really like this question because it needs a little bit of creativity as well. So it shows the applicant's business thinking or business sense as well, not just the statistics part. But I will show you the solution. The solution is that flip the coin twice. In this case, you will have 4 possible scenarios: head head, head tail, tail head, tail tail, right? And all of them are coming with a 25% chance. And the easiest way to turn this into a 1/3 random generator is to actually remove one of the possibilities. So every time when you say tail tail, you say that it doesn't count. And in this case, the remaining 3 situation will come up with a 33% chance. And how to remove tail tail, you say that when you get tail tail, you actually retoss the coin. Well, in this scenario, of course, or in this case, of course, there is a chance that you will get tail tail forever and it's an infinite loop, but in reality and in practice it doesn't really happen. So this is the solution. If you want to check this question, I found this in Reddit, in the math subreddit, and there was a pretty long discussion about how to solve this case without retossing the coin. If you have an idea for that, that's really good. If not, then this is the original idea. So again, this was the statistics part. I will go into the coding part. First of all, if you have questions, go to data36.com/questions and ask questions. Secondly, I wanted to say again that if you couldn't solve these questions in 1 minute, don't worry. In real life scenarios, you will have 5 to 10 minutes to solve questions like this, so it's okay if you couldn't solve this immediately. Okay, let's go to the coding screening. We will have 2 types of coding screening in this webinar at least. The first one will be an easy Python script which says that create a Python script that prints the first X Fibonacci numbers. And before I show you the solution, and I won't wait 1 minute for this one, but before I show you the solution, I just wanted to let you know that usually the coding screening is happening in a way that they are calling whiteboard screening, which means that you have to sketch the code to a whiteboard, literally to a whiteboard, and it's much harder than type it to your computer and test the code iteration by iteration. So prepare to whiteboard screening, but if you practice it, it's gonna be much easier. So for this Python task, create a Python script that prints the first X Fibonacci number. Maybe in the meantime, when I was talking, you already figured out the solution, but if not, let me just show you. If you are not familiar with the Fibonacci numbers, by the way, it works like that. The first 2 elements of this series is 1 and 1, and every other element is generated as the summary of the previous 2 series elements. So this will be 1 plus 1 equals 2, 1 plus 2 is 3, 2 plus 3 is 5, 3 plus 5 is 8, and so on. How to create a Python script for that? Not too hard. Of course, you have to type, I will zoom in so you can see it. You have to define the 2 variables A and B, and you have to create a for loop for I in range 10. So this will be a loop with 10 iterations, and let's see what happens if I add up these 2 elements. Nothing, because I forgot to add the print function. So it's 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Every time it adds up the 2 elements, and the only trick in this script was that you had to think about it like this, that this is A, this is B, this is C, so it's 1 plus 1 is 2, but every time when you generated the C value, you had to assign the B value to the A value and the C value to the B value, so you can create the new C value. Oops. How do you do that? Really easy. You just add here A is B and B is C, and with that, in every iteration, when you add up A plus B, then you go to the next element as well, and this is our Fibonacci series. And of course the first two elements are missing, so you have to add them here. Print A, print B. This is 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34. So this is the Fibonacci series. And if you type here 100 instead of 10, then whoops, you have the first 100 elements. So this is the solution of this task. Not too hard, not too easy anyway. So you can easily get this at a junior data scientist job interview. SQL. In SQL, most probably you will have to join two tables and run a function on them. You have this in this SQL task as well. You have two SQL tables, one with the tweets. So in this table you have user ID, tweet ID, and likes on the tweet. You can imagine this as every line as an individual tweet on Twitter. And on the other table you can see user ID and followers. You can imagine this as another table, and it shows the Twitter users. Of course, this is a hypothetical case. This is not real Twitter data. The question is, take the top 3 users that got the most likes in total. How many followers do they have each? Okay, I give you a few seconds to think about this one, and then I will show the solution. So read the question again, check the data again, and try to come up at least with the draft of the solution. Okay, you have two SQL tables, tweets and users. Take the top 3 users that got the most likes in total. How many followers do they have each? And I will just go ahead and show you the solution. So every time when I maybe it's not the best strategy all the time, but if you think about this task, I think it's every time every time when I see two tables and the task that needs data from the both tables, I start with the joining part. So I will go ahead and join these two tables, and I created an SQL project to showcase you the solution. So select everything from tweets. Again, most probably you will get this as a whiteboard interview and not as a real SQL task. But here are our two tables, tweets and users. And as I said, I will start by joining these two tables. So I will go ahead and select everything from tweets, join users, and I want to join them on users.userid and tweets.userid. The joining has happened. I have one unified table, and the question was to take the top 3 users that got the most likes in total. So to get the most likes, I have to summarize the likes by users. That will be a sum function. Sum likes and a group by clause, group by user ID, and in this case from the from the tweet.userid section. Okay, if you are familiar with SQL, this is a really easy task. What did I missed here the S tweet. Okay, so we have the likes by user ID, and we have to get back the follower counts. So that was the followers column, and you can easily add this here because it's unique by user ID. Okay, we have the followers by users, and we had to order by the sum column. It's worth to rename it total likes as total likes, order by total likes descending, limit to 3. Okay, so this is the solution, top 3 users and follower numbers and ordered by the total likes. Of course, this is not an SQL course, so I won't go into details what lines means what and what keywords means what. But yeah, if you do not get this, then check out my SQL tutorials. I will get back to that. But this is the level of difficultness that you can expect on an SQL screening. And I already showed you the Python screening. So this was the coding part really quickly. So you can expect a basic Python question, and you can expect an intermediate SQL question with a join and with the function. And if you passed that part, then you are ready to the business questions, business thinking screening, or take-home assignment. Before we go further, one more time, let me promote that you can ask questions at the data36.com/questions website. You can upvote each other's questions, so feel free. But I will go to the business thinking part and the screening part or take-home assignment. And the best thing that you can happen with you at this part is that you get a take-home assignment. And what does it mean? You get a task with a really complex data set in the email, and they say that you have 1 day to send back your analysis at home. You can solve the task at home. You can think about it, and you have 1 day to send back the results with a presentation, with your calculations, with your scripts, and they will take a look at it and evaluate your solution. So it's really good because in this case you can present your skills very well. So you can present your business thinking, you can also present your coding skills, you can present your presentation skills, so you can present everything that they just need you. And if you solve this take-home assignment, great, then most probably the rest of the interview process will be just formality. So if you get a green light at this part, then you most probably hired. So this is a really important part, and it's a really important or it's a really good opportunity for you to shine. For data analysts, there will be a slight difference compared to data scientists. So for data analysts, most probably it will be to present something from the data that's beneficial for the company. And for data scientists, it will be more like building a model, predictive model, a machine learning model, and show something that's beneficial for the company. So there will be a tiny difference in the task itself, but the point will be the business thinking, the presentation skills, and these kind of things. Maybe you won't just get a take-home assignment, or maybe you won't get a take-home assignment at all. In that case, you will be asked on-site interview these kind of questions that shows some business skills, where you can show your business skills. What was the most surprising result of an A/B test you got? And I recommend, if you never ran an A/B test, well, first of all, I recommend to run one. You can easily do it for free. If you have a blog, just set up Google Optimize. I will send a link to it. It's a free tool. You can run your own A/B test or to a friend website. Start an A/B test, analyze it, just play around with it to be at least familiar with A/B testing. And you can also go to VWO's blog, where they list a lot of A/B testing case studies. I will send a link for that as well, and you can dig in. They had, for instance, a really funny A/B test where they tested if in an e-commerce store, a guy with a beard or a guy without the beard converted better in terms of selling t-shirts. But yeah, I will send you the link. Another type of question would be, let's say we are a big bank. How do you predict if a client can get a loan or not? of course, they will ask you to get into details, but the most important part that you realize that this will be a classification question. So most banks, by the way, are using a simple scorecarding method. Google it if you don't know it. But you can go into decision trees, random forests, if you want to, or other classification models. If you realize that this is a classification test, then from that point on you cannot do it really bad. Next question type: in which way would you decide how to change the design of a video game? This is a more high-level question, and of course the end answer will be that you have to A/B test it. So you have to set up an A/B test, but the expected answer is more like that you do research from different perspectives. So you do qualitative researches, you go to the UX team, ask for insights, you do historical researches in user data, you are looking for patterns, and based on that you can set up an A/B test. And of course, for these business questions, it will be more like a discussion between you. You have to come up with the base concept for the answer, and from that point on, it will be just a casual discussion. And one of my favorite, I've been asked this question when I was interviewing: estimate the total revenue of all coffee shops in XY city. Yes. So it's not a real business or analytics question from that perspective that they are expecting a proper answer for you. It's more like that: how do you estimate things? If you can come up with a formula that makes sense, if you can come up with realistic estimations, and if you miss something, then how do you solve that problem? Okay, and this is it. This was the business screening part. So if you pass the coding screening, the business screening, and the statistics screening, as I said, you are already really good. The best if you get a take-home assignment, and in that case, of course, you can prove your skills really well on an in-depth case study. But apart from that, this is it. I wanted to show you these cases. As you can see, it's not impossible to solve these tasks. It can be really easy if you practice it a little bit. The big question always is how to practice more: statistics, coding, and business at the same time. And I always say that try to set up your own hobby projects, try to go to Kaggle competitions and try to solve projects there. But if you don't want to, or if you don't have the chance, let me self-promote at the end of this webinar my courses that I built on practicing. So if you want to go really into it, I have a 6-week data science course, and the class of November starts just in 2 weeks, a little bit less than 2 weeks. So next week there is the registration week. It's called the Junior Data Scientist First Month, and it simulates the life of a junior data scientist, the first months of the junior data scientist, true to life data tasks, true to life data sets, at a true to life startup. If you want to check that out at data36.com/JDS, which means junior data scientist. That's one. I will send you the link, by the way. Or if you want to practice SQL, I have a course for that as well. And if you use I added the wrong coupon code. I forget the coupon code, but I will send you in the follow-up email. So the point is that until this Saturday, you can get a 20% off if you use the coupon that I send you in the email. This webinar coupon code won't work. But this is it, and it's time for your questions. So I have a few questions, but if you want to add your questions, then go to data36.com/questions. Oh, and by the way, if you want to subscribe to my newsletter, go to data36.com/newsletter. But if you have questions, go to data36.com/questions, and I will answer all of them. Right now, I have 4 questions, and I will just go through them one by one. So the first question is this session being recorded by any chance? Yes, it is, and you will get the recording. Oops, I accidentally arrived the other question, which was please elaborate on business thinking. I think I already did. The third question was 3 to the power of 2 is 8. No, it's not, it's 9, but the solution was 2 to the power of 3, if you think about it. And Anonymous asked, or actually said, that infinite tossing happens with null probability. That's true. Okay, so the question is, if you have questions, I will wait a few minutes and let you ask questions, but if you do not, then thank you for joining and thank you for being here. If you have further questions, you can send me an email anytime at tommy@data36.com. I will send you a follow-up email with everything, slides, recording, further links that you might be interested. So again, thank you for joining. And as I can see, there is no more question. Actually, I give you 1 more minute to ask. I will stay here. Okay, and 1 question came in. Oh, really good question. Let's say I'm very good at Python and SQL, and I know machine learning enough also. How can I differentiate myself from other job applicants? Really good question. So remember when I said that build a portfolio and not a CV, that's a really good way to differentiate yourself. So list your project rather than your CVs, than your CV points. And another good tip would be to build a blog. So if you build a blog, and it doesn't have to be a very professional blog, or it doesn't have to be full of tutorials as my blog. It's more like run some hobby projects and write blog posts about the results of your hobby projects. And with that you can, well, first you can show that you are dedicated because you are running hobby projects. You can show that you can communicate really well. You can present your thoughts really well on a blog. You can add your scripts to your blog, and of course, because of SEO and other marketing channels, maybe if you post it to your LinkedIn, you will get easier to, even if you do not apply for a position, maybe HR people will reach out to you that I have seen your blog, I think it's really cool, please take a look at this position. I can't even tell you that I started my blog in 2016. I think it was 2016, and just after a half year, every week at least one HR person reached out to me that they have seen my blog and they have an offer for, or not an offer, but a position for me that I might be interested. So that's my number 1 tip. But build a portfolio, build a blog, they are sort of related. It's a really good way to stand out. What's the most difficult question that you have in an interview? It's a tough question. I mean, it's not about asking difficult questions. It's more about to figure out the skills of the applicant. So for me, these were the level of questions that I asked on junior interviews. Some of them were, so for instance, tossing the coin, it was a question that I got asked on a senior job interview. So it's not about asking difficult questions. The part that I focus the most on is the take-home assignment when I evaluate an applicant. So in that part I can evaluate in a very complex way how the applicant performs. I hope this answers the question. Also, how to show in my CV that I have the skills. How can I build a portfolio if my previous works are not very related to data science? How to prove that? In another webinar, I will send a link for you for that. I thought about this in details, but basically just what I have told, that run hobby projects, try to get into Kaggle competitions, do related courses, and list all of them on your CV. So if you want to show your Python and SQL skills, if you attach the GitHub link for your hobby project, for instance, and they can take a look at your code, they can evaluate how good you are with Python and SQL. For instance, if you apply the machine learning model on something that you wanted to predict it, I don't know, like let's say you have a stock prediction with a machine learning model, put it on your CV. For instance, I created a prediction for Bitcoin. I wrote the code for it. I wrote the API for it. I could easily put it on my CV as a project. They could take a look at my code, and it's really good to evaluate and see how advanced I'm in Python. Of course, it's also good to evaluate my business skills. So maybe because I wrote that for Bitcoin, it wasn't a great business sense, because Bitcoin is not so trendy anymore. But anyway, it was a fun project. So my answer is hobby projects, Kaggle competitions, and list the courses you took. Only do not list all the courses, because there are some low-level courses. List the most important courses and maybe write a one-sentence summary about why do you find that course important for you, what did you find there. Which are your favorite libraries and tools? I mean, I don't have favorite libraries and tools. I really like the machine learning libraries in Python, but I don't have any favorite libraries. As of the tools, my tool set is Python, Pandas, the machine learning libraries, PostgreSQL, data visualization in Google Data Studio, automation in Bash. But if you go to my blog, you can see all the lists and all the tools and libraries I use. Since many job offers are for full-time position, what would you recommend to students trying to get on the job data science experience? I assume that you asked that you want to get into a job besides studying, so it cannot be a full-time job. So I have two things to say. First of all, take an internship. It can be really good. You can do it part-time. Most probably, maybe it will be an unpaid internship, but it doesn't matter, because you can learn so much on the job, and it can be easily transferred to a junior position. And my second advice would be that if you get into a situation when you have to decide between university and job, think about that. What's the best place to learn for you? Is it the job, when you can learn practical skills and when you can apply your knowledge and learning by practicing, or the university, where you can go to boring lessons and where you can pick up theoretical knowledge? Of course, I'm I'm suggesting an answer for it, but yeah, my point is that I think if you have to choose between a good job where you can learn a lot, or between university, in every case I would choose the good job, because you can learn there more. You can build your career further. Of course, there are always exceptions, but most of the times a job can be more beneficial. Thanks, the blog idea is very nice. Do you suggest any platform to build the blog, something that also elaborates my skills? I mean, yeah, choose a WordPress. If you go to DigitalOcean, there's a one-click WordPress setup. You can easily set up your WordPress blog literally in 2 minutes. And if you Google WordPress templates, you can find the best template for yourself. There are also CV kind of templates. So just, yeah, WordPress is the keyword that you have to search for. What kind of jobs companies would you recommend to people looking positions which include more theoretical aspects as a standard data science job? So which kind of jobs companies would you recommend to people looking positions which include more theoretical aspects as a standard data science job? Good question, actually. So I would recommend to take a job for those people who are looking for more theoretical things in research centers, most probably at the university itself. So in many countries, the universities are really close to research in the given country. So if you want to go more into theory and you want to do researches, then stay at the university, try to do a PhD, try to get a teaching assistant job, and you will easily get into these researches. Other than that, in medical businesses, so to say, there are many theoretical aspects that you have to use. Also in robotics, you have to use many theoretical aspects as well, because it's a very complex thingy. So it's not just simple business thinking. It goes deep into the machine learning part. But my number one tip would be to stay close to the university, try to get a teaching assistant position or a PhD scholarship, and with that you can go more into the theoretical direction. Okay, if no more questions, if you have questions, feel free to send me to tommy@data36.com. But this webinar is officially over. It's almost 7 p.m. It's really good to see that this many people joined to the live. Actually, the show up rate was exactly 20%, how my benchmarks shows. But for those who haven't joined, I send out the recording. For those who have joined, I will send out the recording as well. You will get the slides, the links. Again, you can, if you like this, you can subscribe to data36.com/newsletter, where I will send you notification about the next webinars and articles and courses and everything. If you want to practice more, go to data36.com/GDS and subscribe to the waiting list of the soon to start Junior Data Scientist first month 6-week course. And if you want to practice SQL, watch out for my email, because I will add the real coupon code for that. Thank you for joining again. I will stop the stream. Have a nice day, or have a nice evening if you are in Europe. Cheers, guys.